Tinuke continued searching for her daughter for days but couldn't find her. She started feeling guilty and got scared. How is it that I can't find my daughter in this whole village? She grew worried and afraid. Though she knew Bola to be smart enough and be safe, but she wasn't ever going to forgive herself if anything bad happened to her daughter. Dare had heard all the rumors spreading around the village about Bola's parents, and he knew her mother was in dire need of her, though he refused to tell her about the news, but implored Bola to return home to her mother. When Bola got back home, she was surprised to see her mother's condition. Her mother narrated everything to her without leaving anyone unsaid. Did I not tell you he was lying initially? But you were consumed by love. Now, the truth has been revealed, she said. Bola felt pity for her mother, but wasn't too surprised at all her father had done. She knew from onset that there were more to his sudden return. She was just disappointed to have him as a father. Bola began staying home with her mother, caring for her while they both healed together. Kayode, on the other hand, never stopped visiting them to plead for forgiveness. With a cold weight of rejection in his chest each time he went to their house, he hoped for a different outcome, but it was always the same. Tinuke refused to let him in, and Bola, now a headstrong teenager, made it clear she despised him. "Go away, man," Bola spat, her eyes filled with the hurt of years. "We don't need you. We never did." Tinuke stood behind her daughter, silent but resolute. Her once loving eyes now bore the weight of 16 years of betrayal. Kayode's pleas for forgiveness fell on deaf ears. He visited daily, sometimes with small gifts, and other times just with desperate words. But every time, they sent him away. He realized that his empty promises and apologies weren't enough. If he wanted to prove his sincerity, he needed to change his life, starting from the ground up. Kayode decided he had to improve his situation first if he had any chance of mending the bonds with his family. Determined, he began taking up menial jobs in the village, not minding the gossips and mockery from the villagers. He cleared farms, fetched water, and did any work he could find. The physical labor was grueling, but it kept him busy and gave him a small income. After a month of saving every penny, he had enough money to travel to the city. In the city, Kayode faced new challenges. Getting a job was difficult, and he quickly ran out of the little money he had. With no place to stay, he found refuge in a local church. The pastor was kind and allowed him to sleep in the church at night. By day, Kayode roamed the city, searching for any work he could find. Weeks turned into a month, and Kayode's hope began to wane. He had no success in getting stable employment, but his persistence paid off when he finally landed a job as a mathematics teacher in a small primary school. The pay was little, but it was enough for him to rent a single-room apartment. The small room was a far cry from the life he had imagined for himself, but it was a start. He poured himself into his teaching job, finding joy in helping the children understand complex mathematical concepts. The routine brought him a sense of stability, and slowly he began to rebuild his confidence. Kayode never stopped thinking about Tinuke and Bola. He wrote letters he never sent, all in the hope that one day he could return to them a changed man. Back in the village, Tinuke had always dreamed of a brighter future for her daughter. She envisioned her attending university, earning a degree, and breaking the educational barrier in her family. But Bola seemed utterly uninterested in furthering her education. Whenever Tinuke mentioned anything related to university, Bola would flare up and scold her mother. "Don't you dare mention school to me again, Mom," Bola would shout. "If you do, I will leave this house and never come back." Tinuke was heartbroken and exhausted by her daughter's bullying and disrespect. The fear of Bola actually leaving kept her silent. She couldn't bear the thought of losing her daughter again. 2 months after Bola's return home, she began experiencing persistent fever. Tinuke, worried for her health, took her to the clinic for a checkup. The doctor's words were like a hammer blow. Bola was 2 months pregnant. Tinuke couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her heart shattered into pieces, and tears streamed down her face. How could this be happening? She had dedicated her life to ensuring Bola had a better future, different from her own troubled past. Now, at just 16, Bola was pregnant. As the reality sank in, Tinuke wept bitterly. She had worked so hard, sacrificing so much to give Bola a chance at a bright future. Yet, here they were, with her daughter facing the same hardships she had once endured. Despite her disappointment and heartbreak, Tinuke knew she couldn't abandon Bola like her own mother had done to her. She decided to keep Bola's pregnancy a secret, determined to protect her daughter from the village's judgmental eyes. She took Bola home and cared for her, even in the face of their dire situation. Days turned into weeks, and Tinuke tried to hide her sorrow behind a brave face. She continued with her daily routines, attending to her palm kernel business. But the pain of Bola's situation was a constant ache in her heart. Bola, meanwhile, became more withdrawn. The reality of her pregnancy began to weigh heavily on her, and she found herself reflecting on her past actions. The rebellious streak that once defined her now seemed hollow and meaningless. One evening, Bola approached her mother. "Mom," she began softly, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry." Tinuke looked up, surprise and hope flickering in her eyes. "For what, Bola?" "For everything," Bola said, tears filling her eyes. "For being disrespectful, for not listening to you. I realize now how much you've sacrificed for me." Tinuke's heart swelled with a mixture of sadness and relief. She pulled Bola into a tight embrace. "I love you, Bola. We will get through this together. You and your baby will be fine." Though disappointed and heartbroken, Tinuke was determined to support her daughter. She guided Bola through the pregnancy, ensuring she received proper care and nutrition. She also started making plans for Bola's education, determined that her daughter would still have a chance at a better future. Tinuke's love and perseverance began to rekindle Bola's own dreams. As the months passed, Bola saw the strength and dedication in her mother's eyes. She realized that her mother had never given up on her, despite everything. Back in the city, Kayode continued to work hard. After several months, with his salary from the school and the extra home classes he took some students, he saved enough money to feel a semblance of security. He decided it was time to visit Tinuke and Bola again. This time, he hoped they would see the change in him. He arrived at the village and stood nervously outside their house. Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door. Tinuke opened it, her eyes widening in surprise at the sight of him. "Kayode," she said, her voice flat. "Why are you here?" "I've changed, Tinuke," he replied, his voice steady but earnest. "I've been working hard. I have a job in the city and I'm hoping for a bigger job soon. I'm not here to make excuses. I just want a chance to prove that I can be better for you and for Bola." Tinuke hesitated, her eyes searching his face for any sign of deception. Finally, she stepped aside, allowing him to enter. Bola's expression instantly turned cold when she saw him. "What is he doing here?" she demanded. "I asked him to come in," Tinuke said, her voice soft but firm. "Let's hear him out." Kayode sat down, his heart pounding. He was shocked to see his daughter's growing belly, but he had no effrontery to ask why or what. He comported himself from the shock and explained his journey over the past months, the hard work he had done, and his determination to make amends. Bola listened, her face hardening with each word. "You think a few months of hard work can make up for 16 years? She asked, her voice trembling with anger. "No," Kayode admitted, "but it's a start. I want to earn your trust back, Bola. I want to be the father you deserve." Silence filled the room. Tinuke looked at her daughter, then back at Kayode. "It's a long road, Kayode. Trust isn't easily rebuilt." Kayode nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. "Please, go away. We don't want you here," said Bola. Kayode left feeling ashamed. He knew he needed to do better. Maybe get a better job, own a car, and drive down here. Asking them to join me in the city, they will definitely not throw me out anymore, he thought within himself. But Kayode remained confused about his daughter's big belly. How could she be pregnant at this tender age? Oh my, Tinuke isn't doing so well with her parenting. This isn't the kind of life or future I imagined for you, Bola. What a pity, he muttered. Kayode returned to the city with a heavy heart. Despite his teaching job, he felt the need to utilize his qualifications to secure a better future. He visited numerous companies, presenting his CV and BSc certificate, but each time he was asked for a copy of his master's degree. The problem was his master's degree certificate was left behind when he was deported. After countless rejections, Kayode realized that without his master's degree, his job prospects were slim. He was determined to find a way to retrieve his documents from the UK. One evening, as he walked home dejectedly after another unsuccessful day of job hunting, he bumped into Dan. Dan, the very man who had exposed his secret in the village, was back in Nigeria to visit his wife. Kayode's initial reaction was one of anger. He felt a surge of frustration and blamed Dan for the ruin of his life back in the village. "She ruined everything, Dan," Kayode shouted, his voice trembling with emotion. "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have lost my family. I wouldn't be in this mess." Dan, taken aback by Kayode's outburst, looked genuinely remorseful. I'm sorry, Kayode. I didn't mean for things to turn out this way. How can I make it up to you? Kayode, still fuming, thought for a moment. If you really want to help, I need my documents from the UK. I need my master's degree certificate. Without it, I can't get a decent job. Dan nodded. Okay, I understand. Let me see what I can do. Dan knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to help Kayode. He contacted a few friends in the UK, explaining the situation and asking for assistance. They informed him that retrieving the documents would require Kayode to authorize someone to act on his behalf. Dan and Kayode spent hours at an internet cafe drafting and notarizing the necessary documents. Kayode provided Dan with all the information he could remember about his time at the university. Dan's friends in the UK visited the university, explaining the situation and presenting the authorization. The university required proof of identity and various processes to be followed. It took weeks of back and forth communication and emails. Dan's friends had to visit different offices within the university, dealing with multiple layers of administration. They faced resistance, delays, and required several rounds of verification and authentication. Finally, after 2 grueling months, Dan's friends managed to retrieve Kayode's master's degree certificate. They sent it to Dan in Nigeria, who immediately contacted Kayode to deliver the good news. When Dan handed the certificate to Kayode, tears welled up in Kayode's eyes. I don't know how to thank you, Dan. You've given me a second chance. Thank you so much. Dan smiled, feeling a sense of redemption. Just make the most of it, Kayode. With his master's degree certificate in hand, Kayode began applying for jobs in oil companies across the city. He faced multiple rounds of interviews and intense competition, but he was determined and prepared, leveraging his knowledge and experience to impress potential employers. After several months of persistent efforts, Kayode finally received an offer from a reputable oil company. It wasn't the highest position, but it was a start, and it came with the promise of growth and development. On his first day at the new job, Kayode stood in front of the company's headquarters, feeling a sense of accomplishment and hope. He knew the road ahead would still have challenges, but he was ready to face them. Coincidentally, Bola gave birth the same day Kayode got his new job. When she gave birth, Tinuke stood by her side, holding her hand. The arrival of the baby brought new challenges, but also a renewed sense of purpose. Together, they faced the future, determined to rise above their past and create a better life for themselves and a new addition to their family. Tinuke's unwavering love and support not only helped Bola through her pregnancy, but also inspired her to pursue her education once again. With her mother's encouragement, Bola began to see that her dreams were still within reach, and she resolved to work hard to make them a reality. Meanwhile, Kayode worked tirelessly, dedicating himself to his job and proving his worth. Slowly, he began to rebuild his life, earning respect and recognition in his new role. As Kayode's career progressed, he continued to write Tinuke and Bola, updating them on his progress and expressing his unwavering commitment to making things right. Though he never got any response from them, but he didn't give up. He knew it would take time, but he was determined to show them that he had truly changed. Kayode's determination and hard work began to pay off. He excelled in his new job, quickly earning a reputation for his dedication and skill. His performances were remarkable, catching the attention of his manager. Within a year, he was promoted to a higher position, which came with a significant pay raise. With his profound income, Kayode was able to save up and eventually bought a modest house and a car. His life was finally taking a positive turn, and he felt ready to confront his past and make amends with his family. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to try. When he returned to the village, Kayode looked different. His appearance reflected his newfound success, and he carried himself with a quiet confidence. He approached Tinuke's house, a mix of anxiety and hope churning within him. Tinuke and Bola were initially taken aback by his transformation. As he entered, his eyes caught sight of the baby in Bola's arms. A pang of regret surged through him, but he pushed it aside. He was determined to focus on the future and make up for lost time. Kayode knelt before them, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I am here to ask for your forgiveness once more," he said, his voice steady. "I know I have caused you a great deal of pain, but I have changed. I want to make things right." Tinuke's eyes softened as she saw the genuine remorse in Kayode's face. She glanced at Bola, who now held her baby in her arms. Bola hesitated, her past anger and resentment battling with the desire to have a father in her life. After a moment, Tinuke spoke. "We forgive you, Kayode, but you must promise us that you will never hurt us again." Kayode's heart swelled with gratitude. "I promise, I'll never hurt you again." They forgave him and hugged each other tightly. "I want to relocate you both to the city with me," Kayode whispered to their ears, and they hugged. "We can start afresh, together." After a brief discussion, Tinuke and Bola agreed. 3 days later, they all traveled to the city, their hearts filled with hope. Settling into their new home, Kayode worked hard to rebuild his relationship with Bola. He understood that earning her trust would take time and patience. He started by spending quality time with her, listening to her dreams and aspirations, and offering his support. One evening, as they sat on the porch, Bola turned to her father. "Dad, I'm sorry for how I treated you before. I was angry and hot, but I see now that you've really changed." Kayode's eyes welled up with tears. "It's okay, Bola. I understand. I'm just grateful to have this chance to be a part of your life again." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Kayode's unwavering support and genuine effort to make amends helped heal the wounds of the past. Bola began to see her father in a new light, and they developed a close and loving relationship. They laughed, shared stories, and slowly became best friends. A year later, Bola received her admission letter to the university. It was a moment of immense pride and joy for the entire family. Kayode beamed with cried as he hugged his daughter. "I'm so proud of you, Bola. You're going to do great things." Bola smiled, her eyes filled with determination. "Thank you, Dad. I couldn't have done it without you and Mom." As she prepared to embark on her new journey, Bola felt a deep sense of gratitude for her parents' unwavering support. The once broken family had been mended through love, forgiveness, and perseverance. As Bola resumed school, she navigated through the bustling campus of her new university. It was a fresh start, filled with promise and potential. She couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nerves as she walked towards her first lecture. As she turned a corner, she suddenly collided with someone. Papers scattered and books tumbled to the ground. "I'm sorry," Bola exclaimed, bending down to help pick up the fallen items. "It's okay," a familiar voice said. Bola looked up and her breath caught in her throat. It was Dare, her boyfriend from the village. They hadn't seen each other since he left for the city to pursue his studies. "Dare," Bola's voice trembled with a mix of shock and joy. Bola, Dare's face lit up with excitement. "I can't believe it's you." They stood there for a moment, staring at each other in disbelief before enveloping each other in a tight hug. The familiar warmth and comfort of their embrace felt like homecoming. "I've missed you so much," Dare said, his voice filled with emotion. "I've missed you too," Bola replied, but there was a hint of disappointment in her tone. "Why didn't you come back to the village to see me? It's been so long." Dare sighed and looked into her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Bola. I wanted to, but I got caught up with my studies. I had to work multiple menial jobs to save up and sponsor myself through school. I barely had time for anything else. I was hoping to return after graduation and finding a good job." Bola's expression softened as she listened to Dare's explanation. She could see the sincerity in his eyes and the weariness from his struggles. "I understand," she said, her voice gentle, "but it was hard for me, Dare. I discovered I was pregnant just a few days after you left for the city." Dare's eyes widened in shock. "Pregnant?" Bola nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Yes, I had a baby girl. She's a year and a few months old now. Her name is Tola." Dare's face went through a myriad of emotions: shock, guilt, and then a deep, overwhelming love. "Bola, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I wasn't there for you and our daughter. Can you forgive me, please?" I hope you enjoyed this part of the story. Please kindly like this video, comment below, and also share this video. Please subscribe and also click on the notification bell so you get notified whenever we drop the last parts of this story. Thank you so much for always watching till we see in the fourth part. Thank you. Bye.